Chapter 94. Siddle was chewing on potato chips when she paused, and said in confusion, "I've never heard of you having a boyfriend." Apparently, a few months ago, Milo was still single. A cheerful and happy smile appeared on the black girl's face. "Okay," she shrugged, her face bright as she replied, "Actually, I'm not married yet, I just have the intention. Actually, I'm preparing to meet my boyfriend's parents, if they accept me. My wedding day isn't far away, I hope you can come then." Siddle looked at the girl on the tablet screen and already knew the general situation. Milo's expression seemed relaxed, but her body language revealed that she was nervous. As expected, she soon learned the identity of Milo's boyfriend. He was a white guy from a well-off family. 3 months ago, Milo met Carrie, a white guy the same age. According to her, Carrie's personality was enthusiastic, generous to others, outstanding in appearance and wealthy in family. Not long after meeting, they fell in love. "Dear Siddle, you know everything about me." Milo's smile faded, a little embarrassed, "But he's different. I assure you, he has no racist tendencies. He treats me very well, and we're very happy." Milo's mood was a little excited. She stared at Siddle, as if she was eager to say something. For Milo, ever since Siddle stood up for her at school, she had always regarded Siddle as her best friend, even though Siddle had no intention of making friends at that time. In Milo's life, she had been used to being discriminated against from all walks of life because of her skin color. Siddle was the first person who didn't look at her through colored glasses, didn't discriminate, and didn't treat her preferentially just to show his politically correct views. The term, political correctness, often abbreviated as PC in English, derived from political correctness, is used to describe language, policies, or measures to avoid behaviors that disadvantage members of specific groups in society. Siddle treated her like a normal person. Now, her boyfriend Carrie was the second person to treat Milo equally. Milo felt that she had met true love. But Carrie was white. Even though he always comforted Milo that his parents weren't racist, Milo was still very worried. After all, not many white families wanted their son to marry a black person. If her boyfriend's parents opposed her, she was afraid that she could only break up with Carrie in pain. Belch, who had been sitting next to her and listening for a while, couldn't help but spit out the soda he had just drunk. He coughed, reached for a piece of paper to wipe the water off his body, and turned to see Siddle talking to that friend of hers for a few more sentences before hanging up. "Sis, what are you doing?" Belch leaned over, his eyes strangely asking, "Don't tell me you don't have a boyfriend, so you get jealous when you see your friends dating, right?" "Huh?" Siddle also glanced at him strangely. "What are you asking for?" Brat, daring to sit next to her secretly, pretending to be playing a game, but actually eavesdropping. Was Belch really that nosy? "I think that Carrie guy is pretty good," Belch said. From a guy's perspective, he thought that the guy Milo described could be considered the ideal American man. "Moreover, he's white, and he's living happily with your friend. You told them to break up. It won't be easy for your friend to find a white guy who can be with her in the future." Siddle, she thought for a moment, patiently explaining, "Carrie is pretty good, but not that good either. The good thing was that he was rich. But there was one very important thing. In those photos, the guy's loving and respectful gaze was always focused on Milo. But it wasn't the gaze of looking at the person he loved." After Siddle finished explaining, Belch was stunned. He asked in confusion, "Sister, but you've never been in love. How do you know what kind of gaze is love?" He still felt that his sister was jealous. "Siddle. Is this brat mocking her motherly love?" She sneered, "I don't know what the eyes of a lover are like, but I know very well what the eyes of a precious prey look like. That Carrie guy didn't consider Milo as his lover. The love and respect he showed seemed warm and touching, but Siddle felt the intention to make people shiver without being cold. His eyes were clearly looking at a precious object in his collection. Siddle concluded very confidently and smugly, "Although I don't understand anything about love, but for this kind of person, one look and you can tell it's very dangerous. I'm very good at getting rid of perverts, or you could say murderers, you know. Belch. Why would she say something so obviously tragic with such a proud tone? For a moment, Belch couldn't understand his sister's brain circuit. The blonde girl turned her head, her blue eyes on her snow-white face staring at him, her tone very gentle. Do you have any other opinions? Belch swallowed, thought for 2 seconds, and quickly shook his head. No, it's gone. Then go get me a can of Coke. After telling Belch to leave, Siddle buried herself on the sofa again, finding a comfortable lying position. Before hanging up, Siddle frankly told Milo the reason she asked her to break up with her boyfriend Carrie. Siddle also said that if Milo decided to break up, she could also call her to supervise the breakup, and could also ensure Milo's safety. But before Siddle could wait for Milo's reply, she received a call from Ray's mother first. Hello, Siddle. A cheerful woman's voice came from the phone. Ray said, are you free now? I want to introduce you to a professor. Siddle was going to start school at the end of August. After talking to Ray a few days ago, it seemed that she had finally finished her research, and remembered that her daughter was going to college, so she had been paying more attention to Siddle these past few days. Siddle naturally had no objections, so she quickly met Ray via video call. After returning to school to work, Ray started her academic research, becoming busier and busier. Mother and daughter had not seen each other for several years. Instead, Kelson often spent time returning to the country. Ray introduced the man next to her to Siddle. This is Professor Yasuyama Saketsugu of Tokyo University. He is a famous Japanese researcher, specializing in Japanese history and folklore. I remember that you are very interested in these things. If you are willing to study further, maybe the professor will inspire you. Siddle never thought that Ray could still remember some of her little hobbies when she was a child. After all, her hobbies were very diverse. Until now, even she herself had forgotten a lot, and she didn't expect that Ray could help her remember those hobbies. She greeted Professor Yasuyama Saketsugu. The man in his 40s, with a gentle face, smiled and nodded at Siddle, then replied, in the future, if you go to Japan to study abroad, you can ask me if there's anything you don't understand. Siddle smiled politely. Thank you, Professor. But in Japan, that's it. After all, Japan is a place with a high rate of ghosts appearing, thinking about the endless space in that game world. Siddle deliberately avoided this topic. After adding Professor Yasuyama Saketsugu's contact information, this matter ended here. Siddle happily stayed at home for a few more days, then Milo sent her the news that she had broken up with Carrie. Although he considered Carrie his true love, for Milo, a good friend who had known him for many years was naturally more trustworthy than a man he had only known for a few months. Because of Siddle's reminder to pay attention to safety, Milo deliberately moved out of the apartment where the two lived together, then invited Carrie to a crowded cafe to break up. Actually, I thought about it for a long time before breaking up. Milo said gloomily. In the end, I decided to test him a bit. When we broke up, he seemed very heartbroken, but I deliberately said stop pretending, I already know your purpose. After saying that, I clearly saw his expression change. After that, he didn't bother me anymore, we just broke up and deleted contact. Now that 3 days have passed, I think the impact of this incident on me isn't that bad. Siddle wasn't too surprised that Milo could understand the pros and cons of this matter. After all, she understood this girl's personality quite well. She happily comforted her. If you want to have a new relationship, I can introduce you to among her old roommates. Margot, Louise, and Jacqueline's luck was very good. The 3 girls all had good personalities, good families, and outstanding looks. They were all people who could attract attention at school.